A woman will never approach you and announce, "I've decided I want you. Do something about it before I reconsider." That's not how attraction usually works. More often, interest appears in small moments, the way she turns toward you, how long she stays engaged in a conversation, whether she looks for reasons to remain close, or whether her body seems more relaxed when you're around. And here's what many people misunderstand. These signals are not secret codes with one guaranteed meaning. They're clues. The real skill is learning how to notice them without turning every gesture into proof of attraction. Because attraction is rarely communicated through one dramatic announcement. It's usually built through a pattern. A woman may become more engaged, more playful, more attentive, and more comfortable around a man she likes. Sometimes her hands reveal that increased comfort through touching her hair, adjusting an object, gesturing more openly, or finding natural opportunities for brief contact. But the important question isn't, does this one gesture mean she wants me? The better question is there a consistent pattern of warmth, attention, comfort, and reciprocal interest? And if you've ever sat across from someone you really liked and wondered, is she interested in me? Or am I imagining this? You're not alone. Maybe you noticed her smile, the way she leaned toward you, or the fact that she kept finding little reasons to touch her hair. Maybe you felt a connection, but you were afraid of reading it incorrectly. If you've experienced that uncertainty, tell me in the comments. What's one signal you've noticed from someone that left you wondering whether there was genuine attraction behind it? Your experience might help someone else recognize that they're not the only person who has struggled to understand these moments. Mary Smith, host of Senior Mindful Living YouTube channel. Today, we're going to explore 8 hand and body language behaviors that can sometimes accompany attraction, comfort, or growing interest. But we're also going to do something more important. We're going to separate genuine psychological insight from the exaggerated secret signal advice you often see online. Because a confident man doesn't need to decode every movement like a detective. He learns to notice patterns, respect boundaries, communicate clearly, and let mutual interest develop naturally. The first behavior is the hair touch, especially when it happens repeatedly during an engaging conversation. A woman may touch her hair when she's nervous, excited, self-conscious, or simply adjusting it. So hair touching alone doesn't prove attraction, but context changes everything. Imagine you're sitting across from someone at a coffee shop. She has been talking comfortably for several minutes. Then, when the conversation becomes more personal, she smiles, moves a strand of hair away from her face, briefly touches the side of her neck, and continues talking while maintaining eye contact. A few minutes later, it happens again. That repetition is more interesting than the individual gesture. Why? Because attraction can increase self-awareness. When people become more conscious of how they're being perceived, they may unconsciously groom themselves, adjust their appearance, or become more physically expressive. Psychologists sometimes refer to these behaviors as self-presentation or grooming behaviors. They aren't exclusive to attraction, but they can become more noticeable when someone feels socially or romantically engaged. So don't think she touched her hair, therefore she's attracted to me. Think she's becoming more engaged. Her grooming behavior increased. What else is happening? That's a much more psychologically intelligent way to read the situation. The second behavior is what we might call object interaction. Maybe she's slowly turning a coffee cup in her hands. Maybe she's playing with a bracelet, adjusting a ring, moving a pen between her fingers, or repeatedly touching the strap of her bag while talking to you. Again, this isn't a secret attraction code. People fidget for countless reasons. They can be nervous, bored, excited, distracted, or simply comfortable with repetitive movement. But if object interaction appears alongside increased eye contacts, smiling, leaning closer, personal conversation, and sustained engagement, it can tell you something important about her emotional state. She may be experiencing heightened arousal in the broad psychological sense, increased excitement, nervousness, anticipation, or social energy. And this is where many men make a mistake. They become so focused on decoding the woman that they forget to participate in the interaction. Instead of thinking, what does her hand mean? Ask yourself, how does she seem to feel when we're talking? That question is far more useful. The third behavior is voluntary, appropriate touch. This one deserves special attention because touch can communicate warmth and familiarity, but it must always be interpreted within context. Suppose she laughs at something you say and briefly touches your forearm. Later, she does something similar while emphasizing another point. Or perhaps she gives you a playful tap on the shoulder and remains comfortably close afterward. That can indicate increased comfort, but it doesn't automatically mean romantic attraction. Some people are naturally tactile. Some cultures are more comfortable with touch. Some personalities communicate through physical gestures more than others. So look for reciprocity and context. Does she also seek conversation? Does she maintain comfortable proximity? Does she seem genuinely engaged? Does she initiate contact herself rather than merely tolerate yours? And here's the practical lesson. Never treat a woman's touch as permission for more physical contact. If she touches your arm, you don't automatically escalate. You stay present. You continue the conversation. You observe whether the connection remains mutual. If you're unsure, ask. That may sound less exciting than the internet's promise of secret attraction signals, but it's actually much more confident. Real confidence doesn't depend on guessing. It can handle clarity. The fourth behavior is open and relaxed hand positioning. You may notice her hands becoming more visible, her gestures becoming broader, or her arms becoming less closed off as she becomes comfortable around you. Open body language can sometimes accompany psychological openness, but once again, context matters. Someone who is naturally expressive will probably use open gestures with everyone. Someone who is shy may keep her hands close to herself even when she's extremely interested. So rather than memorizing one posture, watch for change. This is one of the most powerful principles in reading body language. Baseline matters. How does she normally behave? If she begins the conversation with guarded posture but gradually becomes more relaxed, gestures more freely, turns toward you, and maintains engagement, that change can be more meaningful than any single gesture. The fifth behavior is brief hand-to-hand contact. This might happen when you're passing something to each other, comparing something in your hands, or sharing an object. Sometimes the contact is completely accidental. Sometimes it creates a tiny moment of connection. What matters is what happens afterward. Does she immediately pull away and create distance, or does she remain comfortable and continue engaging? Does she smile, continue the conversation, maintain eye contact? These details provide more information than the contact itself. And there's an important psychological principle here. People often pay attention to how others respond to their attempts at connection. If she makes a small social bid and you react warmly, she may feel encouraged to continue interacting. If you respond coldly, awkwardly, or dismissively, she may assume you're not interested. But you don't need to manufacture some dramatic 2-second hand-holding moment. Simply remain calm. Let natural interactions happen naturally. The sixth behavior is wrist and hand visibility. You may notice someone casually resting their hands on the table, adjusting jewelry, gesturing while speaking, or exposing their wrists while relaxing into the conversation. Some popular body language content claims this is a powerful evolutionary attraction signal. The evidence for such specific interpretations is much weaker than those claims suggest. And that's worth saying because you deserve better than exaggerated psychology. An exposed wrist does not mean I want you, it may simply mean she's comfortable, but comfort itself matters. If her hands become relaxed, her gestures become natural, her posture opens, and she seems increasingly at ease around you, you're seeing something valuable. The interaction may be becoming psychologically safer for her. An attraction often grows more easily in an environment where people feel safe enough to be themselves. That's something you can actually influence. Don't pressure her. Don't rush her. Don't perform. Listen. Ask thoughtful questions. Remember details she shares. Give her room to speak. Make the interaction feel emotionally safe. Those behaviors create far more meaningful connection than trying to decode a wrist. The seventh behavior is reciprocal mirroring. This is one of the more interesting patterns in social psychology. When two people feel connected, they sometimes unconsciously begin matching each other's posture, rhythm, gestures, or conversational style. If you lean slightly forward and she later does something similar, that's interesting. If you speak more softly and she gradually matches your tone, that's interesting. If you both laugh, pause, or gesture in similar ways, that can indicate rapport. But again, mirroring isn't proof of romantic attraction. People mirror friends, colleagues, family members, and strangers during ordinary social interaction. What makes it meaningful is the larger pattern. Imagine you're on a date. She keeps turning towards you, matching your conversational rhythm, asking follow-up questions, laughing naturally, and finding reasons to continue the interaction even though she could easily leave. Now you're looking at a pattern of engagement, and that's much stronger than one mysterious hand gesture. The eighth behavior is sustained, voluntary physical closeness. This is perhaps the most important distinction of all. A brief touch can be accidental. A repeated gesture can have many explanations. But when someone consistently chooses to remain physically close to you, initiates appropriate contact, responds positively to your presence, and continues to create opportunities for connection, you're seeing stronger evidence of comfort and interest. Still, there is one crucial rule. Interest is not consent. Attraction is not permission. A smile is not permission. A hand on your arm is not permission for anything more. The healthiest response to potential attraction is not to capitalize on the window. It's to create another opportunity for mutual choice. You might say, I'm really enjoying talking with you. Would you like to grab coffee together sometime? That's confidence. Or in a more intimate moment, you can simply ask, can I kiss you? That doesn't destroy attraction. For the right person, clarity can actually deepen it. Because now neither of you has to guess. And this brings us to the biggest lesson from everything we've discussed. The goal isn't to become an expert at reading women's hands. The goal is to become better at reading human connection. When someone likes being around you, look for clusters of behavior: attention, consistency, warmth, proximity, reciprocity, curiosity, and willingness to continue the interaction. When those things appear together, you have something worth exploring. When they don't force a meaning onto a gesture. And if you make a respectful move and she doesn't reciprocate, accept that gracefully. That's not failure. That's emotional intelligence. Think about someone you've met who made you feel completely comfortable without trying to impress you. Maybe they listened carefully. Maybe they remembered something you said weeks earlier. Maybe they made you laugh when you were having a difficult day. Maybe they gave you enough space to be yourself. That's what genuine attraction often grows around. Not manipulation. Not pressure, not psychological tricks, connection. So the next time you're sitting across from someone and you notice her touching her hair, playing with her bracelet, opening her posture, touching your arm, or mirroring your movements, don't immediately conclude, she's chosen me. Instead, become curious. Is she engaged? Does she seem comfortable? Does she continue the interaction? Does she initiate connection? Is the interest reciprocal? And most importantly, can you communicate openly enough that neither of you has to live inside a guessing game? Because the strongest signal isn't hidden in her hands, it's mutuality. When two people both want to move closer, you don't need a secret code. You need awareness, confidence, respect, and communication. If this video made you rethink how you understand attraction, leave a comment and tell me which of these behaviors you've noticed in real life. And if you've ever misread a signal, you can share that too. Someone reading your story may learn from it. If you found this useful, like the video, share it with someone who could benefit from a healthier understanding of attraction, and subscribe to Senior Mindful Living for more thoughtful conversations about psychology, relationships, communication, and human connection. And remember, don't try to control attraction. Learn to recognize it, respect it, and communicate with it. Because real confidence isn't knowing exactly what someone else is thinking. Real confidence is being comfortable enough to ask,